All righty. Did I screw this up? You never know. Yo, David. Hello, Thaddeus. What's happening, Brandon? Petri. It's Wednesday, September 25th. Let me turn the brightness down over here and start off by saying, can you not only see me, but can you hear me? I think everything's working. Let me just see. Bring up I've been doing a bunch of other things today. So sound levels, where are they? It says we have sound levels. So you should be able to hear me. Sully, what's happening? Let me know if you can see and yes, I got a yes from Sully. That means that you can see and hear me. And I apologize for having a waveform monitor up here. What's up, Darren? But thanks, David. I appreciate it. But what are you doing here then? Come on, you're killing me. Yeah, all right. Glass of water with lime. I'm not doing any of the leaded stuff at the moment because I am not. It's not every day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that I start drinking, for sure. And also, I am in the middle of shooting tomorrow's episode of the Daily Drop. So at the moment, I am about halfway through ish for the episode, which is why I have the waveform monitor up here. This is part 3 of the series that I've been doing, and I started to do by using gray or middle gray as a bounce for a source. And yeah, we're going to do that. Sully, East Coast, 3 hours ahead, maybe 6:02, 6:03. That used to be my time zone for the vast majority of my life. And then I moved to the left coast. Is it the best coast? I don't know, but it's definitely the left coast. All right. So, yeah, finding some pretty interesting things out when I'm doing this comparison here between the gray and the white bounce. And you'll have to tune in tomorrow to kind of see the results of that and what the differences are. In some ways, more drastic than even I thought. I've been doing this for a while, but when you start to go down rabbit holes like this and you start to do comparisons and you try to set things up as close as you can to being identical to the way they were with another fabric or bounce material, it is remarkable how different the results are. And in some ways similar, but definitely different in other ways. So, yeah. All right. Evening to you as well, Sam. Afternoon here in Oregon. I hope you're enjoying that day old spaghetti. Uh, I had some day old bolognese yesterday, Brandon, from the day before, and it was good stuff. And there you go. So here we are, another Wednesday. And of course, with the weekly live stream, the idea behind it when we're not doing movie trivia and prizes is it's a place for the regulars and hopefully new people to come in and ask questions about pre-production, production, producing, anything related to video production and sort of the subject of filmmaking as a whole. And that's kind of why we do it. And just for housekeeping purposes over here, I am going out of town on Monday, this coming Monday, and I will not be back for about a week and a half. That means that, at least from my viewpoint, and as long as the connections to the internet are what they need to be, that I will be doing the daily drop while I'm away. So there will be a continuation of those daily episodes, but I will not be doing any live streams next Wednesday and the following Wednesday. So no Camera Flask. My guess is probably in the month of October, coming back in early November. But the regular weekly live streams will start up, I guess, 3 Wednesdays from now. So I apologize that I won't be doing weeklies next Wednesday and the week after, which would be the 2nd and is is it the 9th, I believe? So then I'll be coming back the following week. So there you go. Sketty is the bomb. Yeah, it is. It can be great. I did, Sam, get your email with your info and all of that stuff, and that will be sent off to B&H Photo Video. I'm playing a little bit of catch up on housekeeping here, but they're very responsive over at B&H. So I should be sending that off tomorrow morning over to the peeps over there, and they tend to get stuff out pretty quickly after that. So I apologize for the slight delay, and we'll have to figure out what we're going to do in October. Yeah, and then when I'm on the road, it's going to be not dissimilar to when I was on the East Coast. I'm going to be bringing my iPhone. I'm going to be possibly getting another piece of gear that I'm going to be bringing with me. We'll have to see. That's really a question mark at this point in time in terms of whether or not it's going to get here before my trip. I will find out hopefully pretty soon whether that's going to happen. If it does, what I'll do is I'll probably shoot an episode at the end of the week about that. And then when I'm on the road, I'll talk a little bit about that piece of kit and why I'm bringing it with me. So there you go. Open forum right now. So as I said before, the weekly live stream is about questions. Sam is already doing the at the C47, which allows me to kind of hone in on a question or a comment or something that's meant for me. And if you can do the same, if you're here, that would be awesome because it allows us to keep these conversations going. I generally go for about an hour, sometimes 45 minutes or so. I have a 5 o'clock today Pacific. So depending on how the questions are coming and how fast this is moving and what people want to go over, we may end off a little bit early today on the live stream because what I need to do is get the rest of tomorrow's episode shot out and at least into the NLE and kind of ready to go. So when I'm done, I can finish up that episode later on. I've been trying to get back to this life that I lived for a period of time where my day ended at around 6 o'clock. And my days usually start at around 6 o'clock in the morning or so. And so I try to do that. That hasn't been working recently. I've been finding more so than not that I'm going into the evening after dinner or just waiting to eat much later. And that's just the way it's going right now. We'll see how that progresses, but that's part of being able to put attention on running a business and continuing to do the content that I'm doing daily. Let's see what we got here. No worries. Yep. Thank you for that, Sam. I appreciate it. You didn't screw anything up. I think I have emails from everybody who won last week, so I've got all of that information. Sorry, I didn't just hit reply and say I got it. Sully says, I'm looking for a reasonably priced audio recorder with at least 4 XLR inputs, amateur nature recording. I mean, bang for your buck money wise, and I'd go over to Curtis Judd's channel and check that out. I would say that probably going down the Zoom route would be the best way to go. There's so many products in their product line right now. I would definitely go in and look at reviews because that last round of products they came out with, I don't think were as promising as some of their other ones in the Zoom line. I'm a huge fan of the Mix Pre 2 series, though I don't know if you would consider that reasonably priced. So that's what you have to decide. But I mean, there is a time in everybody's career where they start to look at the equipment that they're using. And it's not necessarily always about buying the most expensive piece of equipment, but it's about making an investment in a piece of equipment that is going to last for a very, very, very long time. I never want to say a lifetime, but that's kind of the point. I was talking to somebody today about that concept because we were talking about a certain category of gear and just sort of the way different companies approach putting out products and sort of the then client expectation in terms of the reliability or lack thereof of that equipment. And I was talking about tripod systems. Now, of course, we've seen recently a big resurgence or not even resurgence, but a surge in tripod systems being available from companies that we've never seen making tripod systems. Um, the small rigs of the world and Surays and stuff like that. And it looks like some of those that are coming to market are actually quite good quality. But historically, what would happen is generally we would say, I need a reasonably or priced or inexpensive tripod system. You'd go out and buy one. Couple of years later, sometimes less, sometimes more, you realized, it's getting kind of crunchy. It's not performing the way you would expect. And if you happen to have gotten your hands on something that was, better, you're going to the Socklers and the Millers and the O'Connors and and the Cartonis and things like that. You're like, oh, this is what a fluid head is supposed to be like. And then one day you bite the bullet. Maybe you don't, but you know, a lot of us do, and you have an investment into uh I'm not going to say a proper, but a higher end fluid head and tripod system, and then you realize, oh, I've now made an investment that is going to last me for years and years and years and years. And generally, not always, when you make a purchase like that with a lot of companies, you will find with like a Miller or a Sockler or something like that, Cartoni, O'Connor in the tripod space, but also with companies like AJA, that there is a different level of customer service that you're getting and support that you don't necessarily get when you're buying products in that lower tier of what's happening. I'm also noticing, well, I'm doing my tests here. So there's things I'm noticing while we're doing stuff that I love to add the word system to tripods and cameras and stuff like that because I do think of them as a system. And when I say a tripod system, I'm referring to the head itself and the sticks or the tripod. If I just say tripod, then to me, I don't know. So that's funny. It's funny you point that out. And I do the same thing with camera. I say it's a camera system. Maybe I should just say camera in that kind of situation because it's a little different than a tripod system. All right. Yeah, no, it's true. Good, Jeff. They did kind of start in that tripod space, but I don't really think of Suray as I don't know why. And maybe it's because I think of them more like monopods and things like that. But they're making stuff, and Sonny and the team are doing some pretty interesting things. And of course, they're in the glass business now too. All right, sorry about that. I kind of went down a rabbit hole. So I hope that answers that, Sully. I don't know if it's a good answer, but that question sort of led me down there. Struggled to get, and this is from Brandon, struggled to get an eye light today, had a single overhead and dark background for drama. Tried a little Ulanzi for the catch, but it's too small. Thoughts. I do have a thought on that. Let me just see as you're all pondering and talking amongst yourself about my love of using the word system when I attach it to certain equipment, that thing. If I can't find it, then I will refer you to looking for a video, Brandon, related to it. Hold on one second. Give me a sec. Stay with me, kids. I never know where things are in the barn. Well, I do usually, but this piece of kit, if you can hear me, I have to remember where I put it. Do I know where I put it? I absolutely do not know where I put it. Okay. Okay. Sorry, Brandon. I'm looking around for it. It's, I think, in one of these cases. It's an accessory for the Roscoe DMG light, the little light, and it's a big kind of like half dome, half sphere that you put on the front of it. And I have been finding that that's a great solution for a catch light. It's a very specific modifier for a very specific light. So it's not necessarily going to be right for all of your solutions. You could go with a very small softbox. The problem that I find with a lot of these smaller COB or COB lights from companies like Zhiyun and, well, that's a good example, right? And we're seeing a lot of those lights like that. Hold on one second. That I can find. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. We're seeing a lot of these little 60 to 100 watt COB lights. And there are some modifiers like this one for the Zhiyun, which you could use on many of their lights. It's this little dome, right? So you put that on there. And this is not completely unlike the accessory for the Roscoe light. The real difference is that's even bigger. So you get a little bit more surface area for the catch light. But here's the problem. Here's the kicker. And you could also go with like a little portable softbox here and have this close to camera. I wouldn't put the grid on here, but you could get something like this and kind of put it over to camera or just off camera to kind of grab a little bit of catch. The problem, and I'm going to get to this, the problem is that the vast majority of these lights don't dim down low enough, even at 1%, for it not to really have an effect on your talent. Whereas that DMG light, the Roscoe one, does. So the combination of that and the half dome accessory that they have tends to be a pretty good solution. In fact, I had gotten that in from B&H as a test item so that I could see how well it would work in a real world production. And then I wound up buying that accessory instead of sending it back. So you could do something like this. But again, the problem is the dimming of the light not going to a low enough level. So it's having too much effect on actual talent as opposed to just getting a little bit of a catch light. You could do some hacks by, lining this or putting some more diffusion or something like that, but that's probably more work than it's worth. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Time to scroll down and see what else people are saying. Show G, what's happening? Under what conditions do you use a grid on an indoor interview key light, 36-inch softbox? Well, that's a good question. And I just had a sort of a mini grid over here on this tiny, virtually unusable softbox here. The problem with grids is they absorb a tremendous amount of light. So they do a great job of directing and essentially flagging that light from going beyond, the direction of the front of your modifier, softbox. But they suck up a lot of light, which is great. But until you get into really big soft boxes, and I'm going to say at least 48 inches, but ideally more like 60 inches, those 150 centimeter ones, it tends to suck up so much light that you're sort of reducing the advantages of using that softbox. So, it can solve a lot of problems without having to set up floppy cutters and things like that in terms of spilled light onto backgrounds and stuff like that. So you get a much more controlled lighting situation, but it can be a real problem unless your initial source is much larger. So a lot of the times, if you're going to use a grid, my recommendation would be to actually get a grid for something like a 4x4. You get a big 4x4 or 6x6, and the grids aren't cheap, but they're a lot less expensive than they used to be, and put that in there. So you still have a big, huge source going to talent, but it's not allowing a lot of that light to spill past the front of there, which can be very advantageous. Now, it's not going to stop a lot of that light from that big source to continue past your talent, but it can help with that light I have a 4x4 from DOP Choice, which is fantastic, which I use with a 4x4 frame like a Scrim Jim Cine or the one from Chimera. And I put that on and in front of something like 4x4 Magic Cloth. And it does a really nice job, but it's a much bigger modifier. But even then, sometimes it's just too much. I hope that sort of answers that question. I know you have nothing against systems, Ben. All right. Brandon says, oh no, that's a reply um, to what Shoji was asking. All right, here we go. Shoji says the C47 EC47. I'm yeah, I may be just a double keystroke. Have you ever shot an indoor interview with just a key light and rim light? Room starts out with no lights. Yeah, for sure. Definitely have. I've actually shot interviews with just a key light, but it really has a lot to do with the space and what is happening in the space in terms of your background and separation and things like that. So if you're talking about just a black box space, um, and then that's sometimes difficult because you're in a black box. And so you tend to want to have some things of visual interest that are sort of breaking that up a little bit so the person isn't just a floating head, especially if they're wearing something dark like I am. And my background most of the time is pretty dark, but that's why there's some things back there, you can see that are sort of creating and helping a little bit in terms of separation. Foreground, objects are nice too. Not that it necessarily is a glass or something like that, but things that kind of break up the frame and create some depth. But if you want to kind of dig into that a little bit more and give me a little bit more information on that, that would be great. Um, yeah. Okay. Uh, Ben, you're cheeky today. All right, here we go. Okay. I'm not sure using the grid, the light's gonna wrap around the subject's face better. It's just gonna be more directed. And you're gonna lose a lot of your light output from the fixture. Not completely unlike, but in a very different way to what's happening with my test right now with this key light um and what I'm doing with the gray and things like that. And I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here with bouncing off of gray and then going back to bouncing off of more traditional white. And I think I'm not done after today's episode. I think there's some other things that I'd want to talk about and introduce, but I am finding that the results are fascinating in terms of what I'm getting here. Uh, how about those Mets? Well, that's polarizing. I'm not a baseball fan, but if you're from New York like I am, you're generally either a Mets or a Yankees fan. And if I had to put myself in one of the two camps, it would probably be Yankees, but I don't really care either way. Walla Walla Walla. Are you talking about Walla Walla in what is going on here? All right, the comments are getting a little weird, but that's okay. Brandon says, oh no, going back to Show G. So this is back and forth with you guys in terms of stuff. You'll get more rap without the grid. Yep. Thanks for the info on your shoot. Good. Okay. Boom. I recently shot an interview with a grid to control spill, but the light did not seem to wrap around the subject as expected. Yeah. I mean, grids are not for wrapping light, they're reducing the directionality or creating more directionality with the light. So you're going to get less spread when you do that. Oh, talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, but the Walla Walla Walla, what's up with that? I'm DeBrown. What's happening? The car from Magnum PI or car from Hardcastle and McCormick? What, what is happening? Is this the talking amongst yourselves? I think I missed the beginning of the thread of this conversation. Um, yeah, I said talk amongst yourselves while I went to go get this crap over here. It didn't take me that long. Stefan, what's happening? Good to have you and your comment. I'm not sure if you've commented here before. C70 upgrade from sorry, I'll reverse that. C80 upgrade from C70 thoughts. it's definitely an upgrade. The one thing to say about that as opposed to the C400 is obviously the C70 was already an RF mount camera, right? It was really the first digital cinema camera system that had RF mount. And of course, RF was introduced into a lot of and still is in the mirrorless cameras like the R5, R6, R5C, so on and so forth. Um, oh, you know my age. I'm DeBrown. So I'm getting the references. I'm there. Um, so C80, brand new sensor, same one as the C400. You've got the triple ISO. You're moving away from DGO. It's a different approach, but it looks like the dynamic range overall is great. And having those, 800, 3200, 12,800 base ISOs, I think is great. I think it really boils down to whether or not full frame means a lot to you and whether or not, full frame. You know, nothing wrong with the C70 at all. And there's definitely some incremental upgrades to the C80 in terms of the ports and things like that. But I'd say overall, both great cameras. Slightly, or maybe more than slightly, upgraded AF or autofocus system on the C80. But I think the big difference is you're talking about a full frame, 6K native sensor that is probably the big difference. So you have to decide, does that really make a difference in terms of the work that you're doing? And it may very well make a difference, especially if you've invested in a lot of RF lenses that are full frame, so on and so forth. So yeah, there you go. Thaddeus says Walla Walla is what you get talent to say when you want some crowd noise that's non-specific. Gotcha. Something I'm learning every day. Try using a large styrofoam board or something similar to bounce your key light and fill the other side. Walk the bounce in and out until you need. Yeah, I have a couple of episodes on bead board and 4x4 frames, do it yourself, shoji on the channel. You can look for those and go over to Lowe's. Home Depot would work as well. And you can build that out pretty easily with a 4x8. Cut it in half, then you score it, get some white gaff tape, and Bob's your uncle, and generally a C stand and a quacker or platypus, clamp. Okay, let's see. Tascam announced the Tascam FR AV2. It looks like it's a better Zoom F3. I've been considering ordering the Zoom H1 XLR. I need a solid recorder to use to patch into audio boards. Thoughts? Well, good, Jeff. I am very much intrigued about that because I think Tascam makes good products overall. They've had some misses. Form factor is fantastic. It's teeny tiny, so I'm digging that for sure. And I am also very interested in that. I'm hoping I've sent an email out to B&H to get one in when it starts to ship. I don't think that's shipping yet. Saw it today. And wonder if they have anything in there also in terms, it's 32-bit float, but do they have anything in there kind of like the noise assist feature on the Mix Pre 2 series, which I like very much because I think used in moderation, it can really help. I'm actually considering getting a second license for my other XLR input for channel 2 so that when I double boom, I can just dial that in at a 3 or 6 dB level so that I'm, just taking out some of the unwanted room tone. Okay. I'll give you the bounce to try. Okay. I don't know what's going on over here, but I'm hearing this. Xavier, hey man, this has been a great channel since I found it. What do you think about the Axoon CineView Master 4K that came out at IBC? Xavier, thanks for the comment and thank you for posting and being here for the live stream and being part of the channel. And I appreciate the kind words. It looks good. I mean, I do have a relationship with Axoon. In fact, I'm waiting to have a conversation with them about their comm system, which I have down there on the floor, because I may make a video about that. They seem to be doing some nice stuff in the wireless transmission and receiver space. And what's interesting about that 4K one, besides the fact that it's a 4K, is that the distance and the latency advantages of it. I still haven't used it. I still haven't watched anything on people using it. I don't think it's shipping yet, but it looks to be a good product. So we'll see, Xavier. So, if you nudge me in the future, I can try to get my contact over at Axoon to get one over and do some tests with it. It depends on the productions, but I would say that maybe it's like 3 or 4 productions a year that I feel like I'm leaning into a wireless transmission system. If I'm doing something in a smaller production space, while it's nice, it's another component. You've got transmitters, receivers, you've got batteries, you're powering them. It's just more than but the advantage is that you're going wireless, so you don't have all that gack all over the floor. That's the thing that drives me crazy when I'm setting up in spaces, is all the cabling and everything. And I've got USB-C power delivery cables, and I've got HDMI cables, and I've got power cables to certain things like this thing, or the 17-inch version of this. This is the 1303. It's not powered by USB-C, so I've either got to go battery or I've got to go mains with cabling. All right, there you go. Let's see what we got. Boom. Yeah, the isn't the time code on the new Tascam? Am I thinking about this correctly or not? Good, Jeff. I think that it's not Tentacles, is it? It's somebody's time code. Oh, Atomos's, I think, is what I read, if I'm correct. You can chime in on that. All right, let's see what we got. Looking for at the C47s, because I'm not going to read all of these as you talk amongst yourselves. Rhubarb, what is that? Rutabaga, walla, rutabaga. All right. There's a lot of chatter about what to tell your extras to do when they're pretending to say things and they're not. Yeah, Xavier, I don't know when I can get that in, but yeah, just nudge me. You can always send an email to contact@thec47.com and hit me up, and I'll see what I can do. You're looking to build up a kit for your video production business because I live in the Caribbean. Do you say Caribbean or Caribbean? I lean towards Caribbean. But I'm DeBrown, Caribbean Queen. You're tracking. All right, here we go. In addition to your channel, what other channels do you trust regarding camera reviews recommendations? That's a good question. I don't watch a lot of channels for reviews anymore. I mean, when I'm interested in a product, and it's not always when it drops, I'll go check stuff out. I still check out Gerald's channel sometimes for information about cameras. I think that he gets into some testing. Cine D, though that's not really a YouTube channel, it's more of a site. I like some of the things they're doing. Obviously, when it comes to other types of equipment, when it comes to lighting, it's Matt Allard and New Shooter, hands down, for me in terms of in-depth reviews. And there's an interesting post actually on New Shooter that came out this week or last week from a DP, real world with Australian DP on the C400. And maybe I'm just going blank here, but if there's other channels that you look at and stuff like that, let me know. Yeah, not the song. You're tracking. All right. You figured out the age yet? I'm DeBrown. You're with it. Will you put the Rodecaster video into your production? Overall, what do you think of the new unit? I don't have enough experience with this thing yet to even answer that question. Um, right now, when it comes to live streaming, I'm definitely leaning on Ecamm Live for what I'm doing. And from a software perspective and features perspective, there's a lot that you can do with Ecamm Live. But it's a very different product and it's designed for a very different purpose. When I look at the Rodecaster video, which I have sitting here on the desk, I really think of that as sort of a box that I would use that's handling two things, video and audio, which again, I think is what separates it from, in a lot of ways, the other products on the market. And I could see using it for similar types of things that you would use a switcher for, because it is a switcher. And so if I was producing a small show, and I wanted to set up different scenes and I wanted those to have different graphics and I wanted to have the ability to key and stuff like that, I think that's where it fits in. Um, I'm excited about the product overall. I think that Rode has put a lot of time and effort into designing this thing to be a better box than a lot of the things that are out there. And they do have a good track record in terms of, coming up with a product within a category. The only thing they've really done with video in the past is Streamer X, and that was just sort of, I think, a proof of, concept in, can we put something out that does what it needs to do and does it, well. Um, and they've just dropped the price on that, or they dropped it recently. So the answer is I can see it being used in my productions. It would just be very specific types of productions. And what I'm trying to figure out for myself is, from a live streaming standpoint, and that's why I need to dig into the box and really get into it, is, does that box give me an advantage over using something like Ecamm Live for the type of content and the types of things that I do? Because the requirement that I have at least generally once a month is more along the lines of something like Camera Flask, where I have guests that come on, and I haven't dug into the Rodecaster video yet to know if that's the case. Curtis Judd, of course, yes. I mean, I mentioned him earlier in just this particular stream, so he's great. Gerald, good. Arthur R. I don't know if I know Arthur R. DSLR video shooter, of course. My good friend Caleb. He's not making as many videos because he's sort of shifted focus with Camera Foundry, and yeah, so there you go. And that's totally fine. So Shoji, I would say that it's too early. It's early days. The one thing that I will say about the Rodecaster video for me personally is I have, for the vast majority of the things that I'm doing nowadays, moved to a 4K workflow. In fact, I'm generally not using the A10 Mini much right now because oftentimes when I'm creating content, I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, including my live streams, is in a 4K resolution. And so it's not really very reliable, to be honest with you, but I've gone back to that little Camlink 4K when I'm doing single camera into my computer. But it's a finicky little mother, I'll tell you that. And so I would have loved it if, even in Gen 1 of the Rodecaster video, um, there was at least one input that would have allowed me to bring a 4K signal into my computer and use that for certain things. And I think if that were the case, and I did talk to them about that, I'd probably start using it all of the time from day one because it has great audio capabilities. It has a lot of functionality. I'm a pretty simple person when it comes to the content that I'm creating, so I'm not trying to do a lot of flashy stuff. But the more that I work on the daily drop and my channel and the things I'm doing, the more I'm starting to think about, because of the investment of time, the growth of the channel and then things that I need to do that. And part of that's going to be Not that I'm doing it any better, but better thumbnails, better titles, better descriptions, and not feeling like when I'm done with the video and it's edited, that's the end. I have to think ahead in terms of those components, and then maybe adding a little bit of additional production value into the content that I'm doing as far as graphics and stuff like that. Most of that isn't about whether I can do it, it's do I have the time to do it? Because the dream is that the production jobs that I get for clients and that I do, that those are essentially, it's like a flip. That's the gravy and not the thing that I have to rely upon to live and pay bills and take care of my family. And I would love to just come into this space every single day and come up with ideas and test things and then create videos in and around them. I just, unfortunately, at the moment, and I think that that's where the attention on growing the channel comes in. At the moment, I'm not in the position where I can say, I want to take 2/3 of my day and just do that. I have to have the hustle and find the work and do the projects and all of that kind of stuff. So, from that perspective, um, I hope that answers the question. From that perspective, I I'm going down a rabbit hole here, in terms of an answer about the Roadcaster video, but it's about how much time do I have and how much polish am I trying to do that? And for the most part, yes, if you're doing live streaming, you're doing multi-camera, that shouldn't probably be a 4K workflow nowadays anyway. But when I'm doing single camera, and I'm doing that for something like the Daily Drop. If I'm recording locally, which I've done before in Ecamm Live sometimes, or if I'm doing a live stream, I want it to be in 4K resolution because there are more and more people who, yes, are watching things on their smartphone, but they're also pushing that to their 4K television or display. I hope that makes sense. It's a very long answer to your question. I think I've got to figure that out. But I do want to dive more into that product, figure out more about what its capabilities are. And my guess is, I mean, if you look at I believe it's called the YOLO Ultra, they do have a live streaming box that will support 4K. That as we go forward, to me, the Roadcaster video, this is the first product. I don't really consider the Streamer X as the first product in this product line. I really think that this is the first product in this product line. And maybe I should probably take this stupid little screen protector off of here. This product here is really, to me, Gen 1 of where they're going inside of this space. But it does show me, just like the Roadcaster Pro, Roadcaster Pro 2, the Roadcaster Duo, that they're committed to this space. What they have inside of that box and what they've done even for the launch without any firmware updates or anything else, there's a lot of R&D and a lot of time and effort that's been put into that Roadcaster video. I first talked to Rode about this product last December or early January. I believe last December. So here we are. We are looking at October coming up. They had already been well into development. Ryan from Rode even states that they've effectively been working on this product for 5 years. Now, my guess is a lot of that has to do with the time and effort that they were putting into Rodecaster Pro, into Streamer X, and all of those things. But the culmination of that and a lot of new things are in this particular product right here. So I don't anticipate this being the first version. I could definitely see a 4K version of this coming out. And we'll just sort of see where this all plays out. Linda made a comment earlier today about price point. It's coming in at $11.99. I do think for the technology and what's inside of there that they are pricing it where they need to price it. I would have loved to have seen this product at $9.99 or less. It is one of the most expensive products that Rode has ever launched. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It does a lot of stuff. And what's inside of that heavy little rectangular box is a lot of technology. It's not an empty light box in terms of what's in there. You've got two wireless receivers. So if you're using something like the Wireless Pro, you're not plugging in the receiver to the back of the Rodecaster video. Keyers and scenes and all of the software development. It's a beast there. So I get it, and they probably looked at it, and they're a smart company, right? They look at that and they say, um, we have a track record when we release a new product. And of course, they're probably not going to compare that to microphones. They're going to compare it to things like the Rodecaster Pro, Rodecaster Pro 2, and products like that. And when we release a new product and with our marketing efforts and everything that happens, we can expect to sell X number of units within a period of time. Based on what we've done, what we know we have coming up, everything else, and I am not aware of Gen 2 of the Rodecaster video. I'm being transparent about that. Whereas before this product was launched, I was definitely under NDA and I couldn't say anything. It was embargoed, all that fun stuff. I definitely can see them coming out with something else. Maybe when that happens, maybe we see a price drop on the Rodecaster video. I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think they've got to work this product into the market. They're going to do firmware updates. They're going to keep adding functionality, I would expect, as they have in the past. And then at some point, I'm hoping we get something that has, at this point, at least a couple of 4K inputs so I can natively bring that in. Because a lot of these devices nowadays, similar to the way monitors work, is they will accept a 4K signal. They just won't pass that through to what it is that you're capturing, or the monitor that you're using may be a 19 by 20 display, but it'll say it's a 4K monitor. Well, it's 4K in terms of how it can bring in the signal. It accepts the 4K signal, and then obviously you are looking at a 1080 image. All right. What has happened here while I've been talking nonstop? I'm DeBrown saying I think they should have stacked the buttons in the one side and left room for a 5 to 6 inch screen for program out and monitoring. Yeah, I don't totally disagree with that. And it would be interesting, or will be interesting, to see if they have a companion product. Again, being very transparent. If I knew of one, I wouldn't talk about it. I don't know of one, but that would be nice as a companion product at least. Same form factor, same angle when you put it on the table, so on and so forth. Yeah. Good Jeff says, if Rode has taught me anything, it's that the first iteration of their products are good, but it's the second one that's really amazing. Yeah, I kind of have a similar viewpoint to Apple products, which is slightly different. I always think that version, or Rev 3, is sort of the magic number for an Apple product. It's becoming a lot murkier now than it used to, because now we're on iPhone 16. But you have to kind of look at the revs. When did they make a big design change to a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air or whatever it's going to be? And it's usually Rev 3. I think Silicon is a little bit different in that respect. I mean, it's pretty amazing to me that those chips, even on the original M1, M1 Pro, they're still cranking. I mean, they're not M3, you know, Max or whatever, but they're, yeah, iPhone. Come on. That's a perfect example. When we got to 3 on the iPhone, and I had one, did I skip version 2? I don't know. There was a point where I started to skip at least one or two generations of phones, but I was there online, on vacation when the iPhone first was released. I had one of the first. I think I wound up returning and getting replacements at least 2 to 3 times on the original iPhone because of issues. By the time version 3 came out, that started to go away. And it's been a long time on an iPhone where I've said, oh, something's not working properly. And I felt like I had to go back because it was a dud or a lemon. but it still happens. What else do we got? Arthur R. Used to be technology mafia, mostly focused on Sony APS-C cameras. There we go. I don't even know what time it is. I feel like we've been talking here. At least I have. What do we got? Wow. Holy mother. 3:51 p.m. Pacific time. Getting close here to shooting out the second and third parts of tomorrow's video. I've already shot the first part. So what I'm going to do is probably wind down on here with I'm De Brown's iPhone 3G with a gazillion exclamation points comment over here. If we've got another quick question, I'm down for it and I'm happy to answer it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset, not what I'm wearing, but I'm going to reset stuff here, and I'm going to go ahead and shoot out the last parts of tomorrow's episode. And it'll be interesting for everybody who's here, who watches it, and the people who have been following, this little quote unquote series, what they think about stuff. I want to say, do this to tell you should do it. I inherently am curious about things, and I am a big believer, without preaching about it, that we never stop learning. And just when I think I kind of got this thing licked and I know a lot of stuff, something will happen, and I have to do a reset and say, I know nothing. It's not true, but I sometimes feel that way. And so it's really good for me to come into this space and to continue to try things, because if we're doing the same thing always, day in and day out creatively, you might as well take the word create out of it. It just becomes a series of steps that you take, trying to, as best as you can, paint by numbers, which is impossible with what we do. And then all of a sudden something presents itself. The sun moves just slightly more somewhere, as it does. And then all of a sudden, this shaft of light is coming through that little place between the blinds and, the edge of the window. And it's creating a gigantic reflection in your talent's eyes. And then you're like, where did that come from? How am I going to solve that problem? We set up an interview in a space. The reason I don't have my larger monitor here and some of my other stuff is we did a pre-light last Friday, and we're in the same exact space, not the same exact setup. And because of the fact that we had shifted talent just a few feet one direction or another, we were getting light that was coming in through the front door of the space, creating weird reflections in glasses that we had to solve, which we did. And the solution in that situation was just to put brown, basically paper, over those windows to flag that light. That's what we had. It worked. We weren't going to tent or put visqueen or basically black out the entire space, but it did the job. But a garbage bag would have worked as well. And if you've never used it, by the way, gaffer's tape is supposed to come off cleanly, and the really good stuff does, until it's in hot and then cold weather, and then it starts to get attacked to it. There's another product called paper tape that you should look into that can be great as a problem solver. It has a lower tack, so it's not great for holding things in place, but when you're doing certain things and you want to be able to remove it and not have any residue, paper tape can be great. Also fantastic, because if you get the white paper tape in a wide enough size, what you can do is, let's say there's a light switch in the frame and you want to kind of cover it. What you can do is you can basically cut a piece of that, and it can work a little bit better. Cinefoil is amazing. It's expensive. Brown rolls of paper or garbage bags are less expensive. They don't always look as pro, and it depends on the production you're on and what you're doing, of course, Sully. But there's always Cinefoil in my kit, and that's a great problem solver as well. Love it. Basically black, very heavy duty aluminum foil. All right, kids. We wind up with the last live stream of this month. And as I said before, if you weren't here at the beginning of the quote unquote show, none next week or the week after, because I will be out of town. I will be continuing to do episodes as long as the interwebs and the internet connection allows me to. Expect shorter episodes from the road, talking a little bit about this subject or that subject. The trip I'm taking is a combination of business and pleasure, so I'm going to be doing some work over there. And there you go. I like to make cookies out of cine foil as well. Black wrap is the other word that we use for that. Good for gobos, all that fun stuff. Keep fighting the fight, whatever that is for you, and taking care of your family and your friends. Enjoy good food, good company, and make sure that you stay creative. That's what I got, and all the best to everybody. And keep watching the Daily Drop. Tell your friends about it, and hopefully I'll start creating better thumbnails at some point. All right, take care, everybody. All the best.